Brazil speaks on behalf of Brazil and Nicaragua, and who aligns themselves with the speech presented by the G77. Both subjects considered today, human rights and global governance, are extremely important, and to the extent that we can adequately address them in the post-2015 development agenda, we will be expanding the scope of the original MDG exercise in a very positive direction. The Rio Plus 20 outcome document refers to both issues in very clear terms. At the outset, it declares the right to development and to an adequate standard of living as overarching objectives. Subsequently, it states the importance of broadening and strengthening the participation of developing countries in international economic decision-making, calling for a reform of the governance structure of the Bretton Woods institutions to better reflect current realities and enhancing the voice and participation of developing countries. So, it's not a matter of whether to include these issues in the post-2015 development agenda, but how to do it. Should they be standalone areas of concern or cut across all individual elements of the agenda? The relationship between human rights and sustainable development should be mutually supportive. This can be achieved through a commitment to reduce inequality and inequity, both within and among countries, together with the goal of poverty eradication and environmental sustainability. The human rights of individual groups and peoples and their effective enjoyment of sustainable development are affected by and dependent on not just their own domestic government policy, but also by the cross-border or extraterritorial acts of omission of states, as acknowledged in the Millennium Declaration and MDG 8, states exert significant extraterritorial influence in other ways, particularly via their bilateral and multilateral trade, investment, and financial policies. We should specifically address groups traditionally excluded due to race, age, gender, disabilities, indigenous peoples, and any other kind of visible or invisible discrimination. During our last session, we emphasized the importance of job creation. The ILO Decent Work Agenda provides a foundation for ensuring the rights of workers and for promoting decent jobs and dignity for working families. We strongly support this agenda and believe it provides a model for mainstreaming human rights into the post-2015 development agenda. We favor minimum wage, enhancing policies and cash transfers programs that provide a basis for social justice and social inclusion. Through public policies such as this, we can effectively put into practice the fundamental rights to development and to an adequate standard of living. The importance of grassroots movements, organized communities, popular organizations, and civil society is critical to engaging society in support of the far-reaching transformations we wish to accomplish through a post-2015 development agenda. Access to information, to learning, and to education, to technology, to health, on a universal and affordable basis is extremely important in this context. Regarding the global governance, the elaboration of the post-2015 development agenda is a historical opportunity to consider the legitimacy and effectiveness of international economic institutions and the United Nations development system. The 2008 crisis and its continued global effects have demonstrated the need for multilateral financial coordination so as to prevent a repetition of the bad policies and regulations that were at the root of the debacle to begin with. The Bretton Woods institutions were clearly inefficient and ineffective in providing the international community with an early warning of the impending disaster in the run-up to the Lehman Brothers bankruptcy in November 2008, with all the dire systemic aftershocks and consequences still at play to this very day. They were not in a position to provide sound advice to countries at the origin of the crisis and to their banking and capital market systems, clearly overexposed to the unreasonable and unsound risk-taking. This should not repeat itself. we need to reform the governance structures of these organizations so that a broader perspective with respect to the global economy and to development can help renew the damaged credibility and role as stabilizers of the global economy and supporters of development. The Rio+20 conference made an incremental contribution toward a more universal representative global governance structure by creating the high-level political forum to provide political leadership, guidance, and recommendations for the post-2015 development agenda, including on the means of implementation. The creation of the forum, along with the strengthening of ECOSOC and the indispensable role of General Assembly, contribute to the strengthening the institutional framework for sustainable development. The challenge now is to make this framework coherently in an effective, efficient, and forward-looking fashion. The issue of partnerships, frequently mentioned, must be considered in light of its possible negative implications in terms of a more effective member-driven governance of the United Nations development system. If the private sector is being called to take up a much greater role in financing for development, member states should better define the rules of transparency, accountability, and ethics governing all outsourced UN programs and activities, so that they are aligned with the UN's intergovernmental mandates and with countries' national development policies. The Rio+20 conference also recognized the role of South-South cooperation in promoting the eradication of poverty and sustainable development. In this regard, we believe that the cooperation among developing countries would benefit from greater institutional support, in particular strengthening of the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation. As a concrete and a specific suggestion on governance and its effectiveness, we should reaffirm, improve, and further strengthen the commitments expressed in MDG 8, providing targets and indicators related to ODA for the post-2015 development agenda. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.